Okay. All right. We can rock and roll here. Okay. Chairman Lent, members of the committee, I am Alexis Morgan from Eagle, Idaho, representing the Idaho Congress of Parents and Teachers, also known as Idaho PTA. Every day I interact with kids and teenagers, and I love to refer to them as Idaho kids. Some of our kids were born and raised here. Some just recently moved into the state, and some of them have family members that are a part of the history of Idaho. My kids are sixth-generation Idahoans whose family members homesteaded the Magic Valley and dug the canals in that area. For almost as long as my children's family has been in Idaho, so has the PTA. In 1905, groups of mothers gathered for the benefit of children, and these groups were known as mothers' circles. The first of these was said to have started in Nampa. In Pocatello, Dr. Minnie Howard was the spark that catapulted the organization of several groups of mothers getting together. When the opportunity to form the Idaho Congress of Mothers was presented in the fall of 1905, delegates from the mother circles came from around the state. The communities that you represent stood at the forefront, being among the earliest to acknowledge and champion the indispensable role and insight mothers and fathers bring to the community and state leaders in fulfilling the needs of our children. These mothers came from Idaho Falls, Moscow, Payette, Nampa, Caldwell, Mountain Home, Weiser, St. Anthony, Hot Springs, Blackfoot, Wallace, and Lewiston, with Pocatello Mother Circles sending 35 to the very first meeting in Boise. The first state president to be elected was Mrs. McGee of Nampa. It is on the shoulders of these amazing mothers, and my own mother too, that I add my name. When my oldest started kindergarten, and it is hard to believe that he is already away at college, I joined the local parent group at the school. While living in Lewiston, I joined my kids' elementary PTA. At Whitman Elementary, I observed parents, teachers, administrators, and community members come together for the benefit of children. I can still recall before school started, the principal at the time, Tim Sperber, planning a field trip for the teachers, and he invited me, the PTA president, to join them. He wanted to show us where our students were coming from. And as we drove around on the yellow bus, a bit hot from the heat of August, Mr. Sperber positioned himself at the front of the bus, kind of like a tour guide. He shared background to specific areas of town, and on several occasions had the bus driver slow the bus so he could tell a story. I still recall looking out the window from my seat, house after house, and then the bus stopped. In that moment, I learned what life was like for a few unnamed school children. My heart was both touched and ached for these kids. I get emotional and I'm not sad about it. It wasn't what life was like for my children, and such a moment to teach me that all kids in Idaho don't have the same experience. This was the moment that the Idaho PTA mission was forever imprinted on my heart, which is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. This year marks 119 years of Idaho PTA, and it has been a great year for us. As we focus on Idaho kids, we believe in working toward shared values to bring parents, teachers, and community members together for our shared purpose of helping and raising our voices for Idaho kids. Our priority is to get information to parents that bridges the gap between home and school through resources that are available to them through the PTA and the state. We are partnering with Idaho businesses and organizations to create programs and funds to bring to our local units, particularly programs focused on providing information to help keep parents informed on topics relevant to raising children in Idaho today. We are reaching teenagers. Every time I talk about kids, I get emotional. and inspiring community involvement, leadership opportunities, and training for effective advocacy work. I've spent all day with my daughter here, so this has been a great day for us. We have launched our first youth community PTSA, comprised of teenagers. These youth will support other local units and promote the mission and values of Idaho PTA with their peers. And they're here. 2 of them are sitting in the back. There you can stand. We are not alone in our mission to help children in our communities and education system. Decades ago, the main parent group in Idaho was the PTA, and now there are different types of parent groups. Today, we have parents with us that are not affiliated with our organization, but value the work we do and want to help in that work. Centered on that conviction is the belief that we come together for all Idaho kids. As a mother of 4 kids, I know the pressure and value that comes with being involved in a parent group. The goal to bring good programs to the local school, to support school initiatives that need community participation, and the need for teachers to have volunteers in the classroom. When school leaders discover a gap in needs, they come to their PTA. We're accessible. We're in the community. Some of these needs are centered around volunteering. Some are focused on creating action and promoting educational opportunities, and some are focused on fundraising, which can either be additional or essential school needs. Decisions are made by Idaho legislators and school public administrators that impact both education and funding. Personally, I have served as a school board member for the Lewiston School District. I know creating policy and distributing funds can be challenging when having to make choices that impact not just school district employees, but all community members. Of the myriads of lessons I learned during my opportunity to serve in that capacity was this: different groups are impacted differently. Our Idaho PTA history tells us that the communities that you represent have been trailblazers, quick to recognize and promote the significant role of family involvement in our children's development, both within our close-knit neighborhoods and great educational institutions. As the Idaho PTA president, I walk alongside you, witnessing how our budgetary choices affect our families and communities. As a mother and a part of a network of dedicated parents, school staff, community members, and board members, I see the varying impacts of fiscal decisions, whether concerning college and career readiness, plant facilities and bonds, or other valuable and essential programs on each group. Importantly, as a leader who believes in fiscal responsibility and values opportunities for community members to make local decision when we are able, I would like to highlight that parent groups, often led by dedicated mothers, feel the pinch when funding does not meet needs. Ultimately, it's our children's future that stands to be affected. The Idaho PTA wants to do their part in collaborating with our legislators. We are bridge builders in our communities. With our grassroots efforts, we're getting the community involved in meeting the community needs. We come together on topics that support our Idaho kids. My request is this: as you create policy concerning the various impacts and you'd like to collaborate with a group that represents both parents and teachers from around the state, please consider the Idaho Congress of Parents and Teachers, the PTA. We are impacted by the decisions you make here in the Capitol. We value what you do, and we are also a strong and valuable resource out in our local Idaho communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan, for being here today. Typically, I was teasing you earlier saying that we were going to have you sing a little song, but we'll let you pass because you did such a great job on your presentation today.
Oh, thank you.
And do we have any questions from anyone on the committee? Senator Summerall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Morgan, for your presentation today. It's so great to hear your passion and your commitment to students. This is just a challenge, given that your scope of care is so big. A couple months ago, I was in southeastern Idaho visiting an alternative high school, and it was in the people who were working there, it was the first time that they knew of that the school was having a dance. And it was because one of the students took that on as their senior project. And the reason why they didn't have dances is because they didn't have a strong parent community to help support those types of extracurricular activities. And I know there are challenges associated with it, but if there's a possibility, thinking how can we be bigger and how can we support all kids, thinking about kids who don't have the types of support that you are so good at providing. I'm just planting a seed to see what you might be able to do with that in the future.
May I comment?
Sure.
Chairman Lent.
Yes.
Senator, thank you so much for your remarks. I see exactly what you're talking about. And the Idaho PTA used to be really large around the state. And over time, there has been a shift in the type of parent groups that have come and where people are focusing on. And just recently, actually, I was able to connect with a parent. I have some social media stuff that I do personally. And I have a podcast. And so she saw my podcast and shared my podcast. I apologize. I'm not trying to rant here. And I connected with her because she's from Idaho Falls. And we don't have units in Idaho Falls. There are lots of PTOs all on that section of the state. And so through my conversation with her, she acknowledged that a lot of these parents who are PTOs have been a little bit pushed out of some of the schools where they don't have a place to fall yet. And so what was great for my conversation, I asked if she knew people who would be interested in helping us reach that area of the state. And so yesterday I got 4 new contacts from parents from that part of the state. And so thank you for your point, your story, because it totally aligns with what we're working on. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Herndon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm kind of hitting on the same topic there. Yeah, I just did want to understand. I'm from North Idaho at the top of the state, so I just wanted to understand what your reach was around the state, how you coordinate with local groups, local people, if you can just kind of give me a lay of the land of how that works.
Ms. Morgan.
Chairman Lent, Senator Herndon, thank you for that question. So Idaho PTA, we have a state board, and then our state board, we have regions, and we have region directors. And then our region directors help those local units. And you mentioned that you're from Coeur d'Alene. We actually have a region director here today from Coeur d'Alene. There she is right there. Her name is Mickey Welch. And she has been working with our units up in Coeur d'Alene. And so it really, we are a volunteer organization. And at one point, there was an executive director and there isn't not. So I actually spent quite a bit of my time doing this, which I'm happy to do. And so we are in the process of, as we are partnering with businesses and other organizations to try to really help ourselves. The Idaho PTA has been very financially responsible and is quite financially strong at this point. And so we're just making decisions moving forward. And so one of the things that we've been doing is updating our methods of communication with other local units. So we've updated just all of those different components. And actually Idaho PTA just started a podcast and we're just doing different things, but structurally, that's how that works. And so she's up there with those region directors. I shared a little bit too much. My apologies.
And Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Ms. Morgan, for, I can tell you're very, very passionate about children and trying to help facilitate that. So you'd said something about some of the topics that affect kids that you guys have been working on. Can you just give us just some ideas on what that entails? What sort of topics do you work on, and how is that perceived in the organization?
Ms. Morgan.
Chairman Lent, Senator Nichols, thank you for the question. It some of the things that we just have been focusing on are things that we want to make sure that people have the information that they need. So one of the things that we notice are that a lot of Idaho parents aren't aware of the resources that are available to them around the state. So that's one of the things that we've been working on. We have a partner that we're working on with a financial literacy program, and we're noticing that a lot of kids don't have a fair, robust understanding of financial literacy as they go on to become adults. And so that's actually something that our youth PTSA is going to be partnering, working on with them in that component. We are working on some different things to help kind of just some different health fair components so that parents can have the information that they need. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we notice are that there are so many different resources in the state, in their communities, but they're not aware of them. So some of those different components, that's what we're noticing. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you for being here today. Please convey to your organization how much we appreciate your service to the young people of our state. It's very important, and we wish you well. And if there's any way we can partner with you as well, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to do so.
Thank you, Chairman Lent.
Thank you.